In this video, we're going to determine the type of root given an equation. This one's actually not too difficult because we're simply going to use the calculator. So what I've done is I've put both equations in my calculator. I've turned off my second one so that I can just make this video go rather smoothly. So we're trying to determine the types of roots. So the thing about roots is there's three types. The types are real and rational, real and irrational, and then the last type is non-real, also known as imaginary. Okay. So again, this has to do with knowing vocabulary. So the type of root, so we need to know that the word root refers to our zeros. So this is where y equals 0 is the same thing as the zeros of the function or our x-intercept. So for this assignment, I do not need to really worry too much about the order in which my function is written. This one's actually written backwards. It's not in standard form. So I need to look for my highest degree. My highest degree is 3. So that means I know I should have 3 roots. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 3 roots. Okay. So I went ahead and I put it into my calculator and I graph it. And we're going to see that it intersects my x-axis 3 times. So that means all of my roots are real. So they're either real and rational or real and irrational. So I know that all 3 are real. So let's go ahead and let's just systematically figure out which each one is. So if I go to second trace, I'm going to look for my zeros. Let's work from the far left first. So right now my x is at 0, so it's down here. I'm going to move my cursor to the left. I'm going to keep going until I get to the left of the furthest left 0. There I am. Enter. Now I'm going to go to the right of that 0. I do not want to go too far. And I can see that my first 0 is irrational. So I have a real and irrational at what? X is approximately equal to negative 2.626, and it goes on, right? That's not the same. This is not rational. Notice that doesn't really seem to have too much of a pattern there. So let's find the next one. Second trace, I'm going to find my 0. I'm going to go, I want to be to the left of the second one. So I'm just going to go up. That's to the left. Then I'm going to move to the right. So this one here is also irrational. So this here is also real and irrational. At x is approximately equal to negative 1.637, and that number keeps going. There's no way I can make those into a fraction. So then my last one is actually most likely the integer 1. I could go through this whole process again, or I could simply go to my table, look for y is 0. This is not a 0. Look for where y is 0. Oh, so maybe not. See, when I see x is 1, I'm getting a different value. So let's check that one out. So second trace, go to my 0. This is why sometimes looking at your table is helpful. So left and right, and I see this is also irrational. That is not the number 1. So this is also real and irrational. And that's at x is approximately equal to 0.930. So it's asking me the number and types of roots. I have 3 roots. I have 3 real and irrational roots. So that is how I would answer that question. That's all it asked for. It actually did not ask me for what the zeros were. These are all approximate values. Okay, so let's look at this one down here. Same sort of deal. I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to turn that equals off and turn the other equals on. I'm going to graph it. So for this one here, I am looking for 6 roots because my fundamental theorem of algebra tells me that. So I'm looking for 6 roots, but I'm only seeing 2, one there and one there. So let's go ahead and find out what those zeros are. So I know I have 2 real zeros. So I know I'm just going to write real. I don't know if it's rational or irrational. So let's just look at them. Second trace, my 0. I always do the farthest left first just for consistency. So that's left of the left one. That's right of the left one. So that 0 is also irrational. And that's where x is approximately equal to negative 1.309. There's no way I can make that into a fraction. I'm going to assume that the other one probably also is irrational. Second trace, 0. I'm going to go to the left. I'm looking here. My y is way down at the bottom, so I'm waiting for it to come up to like about negative 10. There we go. And then I'm going to go to the right of that point. You see y is at 16. It's way up here. So my 0 is irrational again. At x is approximately equal to 1.393. Okay, those are irrational because they keep going. Okay, so where are my other roots? That means I have 2 that are real and irrational, so that means my other ones must be imaginary. So I have 2 real and irrational, and I have 4 non-real, also known as imaginary. So remember, just want to stress this again, that imaginary always comes in pairs. So this is 2 sets of 2. So this is even because imaginary numbers or roots always come in pairs. So this is really all you needed to answer the question, but you did need to find out what your zeros were to determine whether they were rational or irrational.